All right, let's get started making a GIF in Photoshop. So first thing is to open Photoshop and make a new file. So I'm going to do 640 by 480 pixels, and I'll do 300 pixels per inch. I tried it with 72 and it was a little pixelated, so let's just bump it up to 300. Then I'm going to create a video timeline. So first I need to make sure the timeline tab is open. Then click this button, Create Video Timeline. Then I will change the frame rate under this little settings flyout panel. And I will also enable timeline shortcut keys. This helps me use the arrows to navigate the timeline. Next, I'll make a video layer. New blank video layer. So that's this blue layer here. The purple layer is a standard Photoshop layer and is good for stills. The blue layer has some interesting features. So whenever you draw on a video layer, it creates a frame. So here I've just created a frame. As I push forward, I've now onion skinned my first layer and I'm drawing on the second layer. I went back to my first layer to draw on the hair and I can see the onion skin of the past layer. So this is great for knowing what it is that I'm drawing exactly. It helps make the motion much more continuous. So if, in this case, I want to make this little character pop up, say hi, blink, say okay, and then say bye and slide back down. So I'm using a principle animation here called anticipation. So I'm anticipating that she's going to grip the edge of the canvas. So rather than just sort of slide her hands up onto the edge of the canvas, she overshoots it and pushes down. You can anticipate most actions, and it creates this sort of more dynamic feel. Another thing that you'll want to remember about the principles of animation is space and timing. So right now she's sort of slowly inching up, but once she gets her arms underneath her, I want her to push off a little bit faster. So you'll see in the next frame that I'm sort of anticipating her pushing off. So I'm going to scrunch her shoulders down a little bit. So sort of like getting her arms underneath her. And when I'm testing the animation, I tend to turn the onion skins off and then turn them back on when I'm drawing. And so this layer is not far enough up. So I want it to look like she moved a little faster because she kind of got her arms underneath her. So the way I'm going to fix that is I'm going to just scooch this layer up a little bit. So I'm going to select her using the lasso tool on the left here. I'm just going to draw around her, leaving her hands in place, but picking up everything else, and then pulling her up. If you don't use the lasso tool, you will move the whole animation, so or any sort of selection tool. So Control D or Command D on a Mac to deselect, and then I can go back and sort of connect her arms. So she's now just a little further up on the canvas than she was before, which again is going to create the illusion that she's moving faster. And then I'm going to sort of make her final vertical, her peak vertical position now. And it's going to be sort of an expansive pose because she just popped up. So her arms are a little bit out. Now I'm going to start her wave. So I'm going to let her other arm come down a little bit, and she's now putting most of her body's energy into this wave. Next thing, another fun principle of animation here is smear. So when someone's waving, the hand is moving too fast for us to actually count the fingers. So I'm going to represent that by kind of just making this little smear. Another way to approach this would be to between this, so add a blank frame in between these two layers. but it is, I think, just as effective, if not more effective, to use smears. And it's faster too. All right, now we're gonna do another wave, another hand in the wave. And I am going to start posting the three things she says: hi, okay, and bye. So I'm using a normal Photoshop layer that I added in the layers panel. And I'm putting it where I want it. Then I'm going to add okay and bye in similar places. So these are holding for a certain amount of time, and I shrank them to be the amount of time I want them to be on screen. So this will be okay. And the reason I'm doing this instead of doing straightforward animation, which is what I was doing before, I know the action I want to do and I'll just draw the frames until I get to where I want, is because I'm more concerned with timing now. So I want this GIF to be about 5 seconds long, and I want it to feel I want to have the feeling of hi, okay, bye, that pace there. So because the timing is important to me, I'm going to plan that out in advance and then animate in between these posts. So this will also come up if you have characters talking, if you have a particular action that needs to be completed. And keyframing like this is actually a more typical way of animating than straightforward animation. So now we'll go back to animating straightforward. So this is sort of a good way to mix these two types of layers to achieve the desired result. All right, so now I'm going to do her down wave and loop it a little bit so I don't have to redraw all of these frames. I can just copy paste them and have her wave a couple times without having to draw it over and over. These little shortcuts can end up saving you a lot of time. And the important thing here is to paste special, paste in place, so that your character is pasted in exactly the same place. So now I'm moving into a more neutral expression, which is going to be her okay. So I'm letting her arms fall, her shoulders are sort of round, and I am going to move these layers around until I figure out exactly how long I want her to hold in this sort of neutral expression. I'm going to have her blink. So originally I redrew this frame. I eventually decided against it and just copied the frame and changed her eye shape. But this is when I was redrawing it. And I'm now just figuring out the timing of her blink. This is where I decided to go ahead and delete this and just copy paste her neutral expression, only changing her eye shape so that she looks like she's blinking. And you see I forgot to paste special here, paste in place, so she's sort of floating. I'll have to go back and fix that. All right, so I've got that timing a little bit more hammered out. So I am going to start figuring out how to get her to leave the frame. So I'm going to reuse a lot of the frames I used in the beginning when she popped up, just copying them in the reverse order, right? So from tallest to shortest. The only difference is that I'm not going to have her grip the side the way she did when she was coming up. So she's just going to sort of sink down underneath the frame. So when I get to this, her fingers up like this, I will start drawing again. So now I will just draw her sinking down. Now I'm going to shrink my workspace down. So the workspace is just what your program is loading. And you want it to be pretty well cut to what you made. Now just getting all of this timing really finalized. Even though this is just a 5-second animation, I want it to feel that the timing's correct. And I also wanted it to feel like it was a chalkboard drawing. So I've inverted it with an adjustment layer in the layers panel. So the adjustment layers are the little black and white circle on the bottom of the layers panel. And you can invert there. You can do anything that you can do to any other sort of image. So you could color this, you could do anything you want to do. I'm just going to keep it simple because we're learning how to make GIFs in Photoshop. So now let's export. So File, Export, Legacy, Export to Web Legacy. Make sure it's a GIF, loop forever, preview it. Looks pretty good. All right, so I'm going to save this. I'm pretty happy with this. So that's it. Now just make sure you're saving it where you want it, and you've made your first GIF in Photoshop, and you can make any sort of meme you want. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and have a good day.